Good morning, judges, and also fellow friends of Aerotion 2026. My name is Muhammad Husein Shodiq. You may call me Husein in this occasion, and I am from Universitas Jember. Here's a question to start this speech. Have you ever stood at the edge of an opportunity only to not take them? Not because you weren't prepared, not because you weren't capable of doing it, no, but by a thought that kept telling you, what if I fail? Maybe it was a competition, maybe it was a scholarship selection, or maybe it was an audition that you enrolled to, or simply just raising your hand in your favorite class. Ladies and gentlemen, ironically, most of the people don't lose because they fail. No, most of the people lose because they're too afraid to fail. And psychologists have a name for this: aticophobia, the fear of failure. It is more than just a disappointment. It convinces us that every mistake, every failure that we made defined our worth. And once we believe to all of that, we stop taking chances long before the world tell us no. But what if I tell you? What if I tell you that failure isn't the enemy that we've always believed them to be? What if the cracks that we tried so hard to hide are the places that can make us grow even more? Take Soichiro Honda, for example. He is the founder of Honda. As a young engineer, he always dreamed of designing engine parts for Toyota. But long story short, he was rejected. But then he finally created his own company, a decent company. But then it was destroyed in the World War II. He then rebuilt it again, only to see it got destroyed by an earthquake. When I was reading that story, I said to myself, this must be the end of his career, right? No, I can scroll it once more. He saw it as another beginning. Using whatever resources he had left, he created small motorized automobile, bicycles. And in this era, that ruin of failure turns out to be the greatest automobile company. I'm sure you have it, maybe your friends, maybe your family have it. I'm also using it too. But his success was not built because he never fell. We heard it together that he fell countless of times. He had company just got destroyed. He rebuilt it again, got destroyed it once again. He built his success because he refused to just stay down. But ladies and gentlemen, maybe his case, maybe Soichiro Honda case is extraordinary because most of the people would not go that far. Why? Because fear often defeats us long before failure ever can. According to the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor 2024-2025, 49% of the people said that they would not start a business because it might fail. And this is actually an increase from 44% in 2019. Crazy number. Almost half of the people would not start, not because they lack a talent. No. Not because they lack of opportunity. No, they have all of that. but because a possibility of failing. And in other words, ethicophobia that we have just talked recently doesn't just steal our confidence, it steals our future. But, ladies and gentlemen, let's twist the perspective a little bit. In Japan, there is an art that tells us completely different story. It was called kintsugi. It was a ceramic bowl that breaks but doesn't get thrown away. The very crack that it has was filled by a lacquer mixed with gold. You see, the artist doesn't just erase the damage, it was embraced and created a masterpiece. And it made me wonder, why do we celebrate some crack in a random ceramic bowls, yet spend our life try to hide our own crack? Maybe the goal of life was not to avoid breaking. Maybe the goal of life was to find what to fill the cracks. For Soichiro Honda, maybe it was a perseverance. For someone else, maybe it was hope. For another, maybe it was resilience, faith. Because our worth doesn't define by how many times we fall, by how many times we fail. Our worth gets defined by how many times we